Welcome, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Just Minding My Business. I'm so happy that you stopped by today. And we all care about investing. Investing is a hot topic these days because a lot of us are don't really know where to go and how to get it done. So today, I'm so happy to have Sam Bremner, who is the founder of IVEST Consumer Partners, which is a private equity firm focused on investing in consumer brands, intellectual property, and nostalgic franchises that have shaped generations. His work centers on reviving beloved brands and bringing them back into cultural relevance, proving that the stories and characters people grew up with still hold powerful emotional value today. Well, welcome, Sam. I am so happy to have you here.
Thanks, Ida. I'm excited.
Yes, yes, indeed, because I always like talking to investors. And one of the things that kind of stuck out for me was that you lead with what you call a high frequency leadership. Can you define that for us?
Well, my joke is that to save you the money on the book, the answer to the question of what is the frequency of leadership is it's for sure a high frequency, not a low frequency. And so what I do in the book is I talk about the physics and the science of the fact that, vibrations, vibes, how people get along, all that stuff is real and based in science. And it's not just a feeling. The reality is that you can compress time by moving faster. And I think for entrepreneurs on your show that are listening right now, they're looking for things that they can take away and utilize. And I would have to say the number one thing is move fast, make decisions, be brave, go, go, go. Because you know what? Things may break, they may not work, they may not be perfect, but if you move fast, you can compress time because the physics of it is that if you travel away from the Earth, say at the speed of light, for example, and you come back 5 minutes later, that's 150 years plus for the people on Earth. That's a metaphorical example of the fact that reality is, and even if you're traveling in a plane, frankly, at 600 miles an hour, you do gain, a 30, 40 seconds of life relative to the people who are sitting still on Earth. So in business, don't take your time.
Hmm. Well, that's interesting. And that's definitely a different frame of mind around it. So, what is high frequency leadership versus traditional risk management in private equity important?
Well, you know, I guess the difference between me and a lot of people in private equity is that I come from an entrepreneurial background, and that experience puts me in a different headspace than risk management is very important for investors. You want to protect the downside for sure, but maybe the best way to do that is by moving quickly. And you think about when you run into somebody who's a real dud, somebody who sits there and always has a negative perspective. What is that if not a dense rock? And you put a high frequency, a high vibration, go, 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 let's make it happen, meets a rock, that vibration stops and slows down. And so I guess that's kind of the metaphorical answer to the question, I think.
Yes, okay. And you're right. And usually for me, the rock, I just kind of like bless it and keep moving because
Yeah.
I need I need people that see the possibilities.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you know what? If you move fast and keep that positive energy, you'll find that person that you can have alignment with, right? And then there's an energy transfer. And that energy transfer with somebody who you have alignment with, there's efficiency. The signal becomes clear. Interference disappears. You guys have a shared mission, shared values, shared expectations, and things get done.
Yes. And you're so right because right now I'm connected with a young lady on a project and we align. And
Yep.
we meet every week and plan this and execute this and then we come back talk about what worked, what didn't work, tweak it, and keep it moving. So you're absolutely right on that note because people that have high energy in the same space create.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny, and there's so many people that, well, in private equity, they say it this way. They go, a lot of people think risk management is sexy. They think that's great. So, and what is risk management if not sitting here criticizing and thinking, well, if we take this step forward, it could mean failure. So maybe we shouldn't do it. But when I look at like the richest, most successful people of all, if you think about Mark Zuckerberg and these types of people, like what did they do? They just went for it. They just went for it and did it. I mean, he's in school. He said, how much homework did he do before he started Facebook, And you start to realize that maybe that youthful high energy attitude is how you really get ahead, not sitting there critiquing every little move. And so for me at this point in my life, I'm like, what is, I love the title, The Frequency of Leadership, but what does that even mean? And so I started to analyze the physics of it. There's something called cymatics. You know what cymatics is? You have a metal plate connected to electronics, and you can put sand on the electric plate. Cymatics is where you turn up the frequency, and the sand will form patterns. At a low frequency, the patterns are circles and squares. At a high frequency, the complexity of the patterns represents, incredible forms like church windows. When you think about the um, geometric shapes that you see on church windows, like you'll get that from cymatics at a high frequency. So it started to speak to me in a way I'm like, hmm. And then, of course, the physics of going faster, um, making decisions and moving forward, because you can make mistakes, but you just don't have to stay there.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, how do you bring this mindset into your business with your clients?
Well, what we do is we try to find companies that, are in consumer generally and are looking for investment partners. And what we're trying to do is say for 36 months, grow as fast as we can. So right off the bat, we have to set the pace and say, look, we're going to move quickly. It's not going to always be comfortable. And, some people sign up for that. And if there's alignment for that, that we work really hard for 36 months, um, at that high frequency, I mean, the results speak for themselves. We at IVEST have been extremely successful. You mentioned Care Bears. It's a great one to talk about because Care Bears has grown so much in the last in the last 3 years. It's skyrocketed. And why is that? Well, because everyone's aligned on a high frequency and they're going for it. But the cool part is that what is Care Bears about? It's about love, caring, and sharing. I mean, the Bears help kids with a low frequency challenge, negativity. And the Bears have a superpower, and that superpower is love, caring, and sharing. And that's how they overcome the dense negative object. And I love it. And the reason why I think it resonates with people is because it's exactly what we're talking about, which is, that frequency of love, caring, and sharing, that actually is what the world needs more of. And it is actually the solution to almost any problem.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If we could just all agree upon that, we would have a wonderful world.
It's funny because I'm not a religious person, but when you think about what the message of religion always is, it's that love your neighbor, God is love. I mean, so it just all speaks to the fact that even in business, when you have a lot of negativity, what you need to be is forgiving to yourself, forgiving to others, and just go for it. Sure, the email you sent out, it's got mistakes in it, and it's like, it's embarrassing. But if you didn't send the email, nothing would have happened. So you just got to go for it. So I know that's something I think probably resonates with people.
Yes, yes. And who hasn't sent out an email with errors? As
Yeah.
much as I try to check them and make sure I'm saying what's on my mind and everything is, uh, commas and periods where they need to go. There are times that they go out and I'll be like, oh, Lord, I messed up. And if it's a big mess up, I'll follow up with, oops, I made a mistake. You know how it is sometimes, but this is what I was trying to say, and people understand that because we've all been there.
Yeah. I think that people, you know, the whole concept of vibration, the frequency thing, what's it talking about? And people are always emitting signals in their behavior, in their decisions, in their
Yes.
emotional tone, and in their expectations. And these signals create vibrational field, inside organizations. And in fact, there is a scientific study about how when you feel love or you're feeling positive feelings, and again, back to Care Bears, that's what people feel when they connect with the show or when they connect with merchandise related to it. The heart emits a frequency stronger than any other part of the body, and it can be it's been measured up to 3 meters outside. That's why I think when you're at the airport, for instance, and you see a couple and they're in love and they're saying goodbye, why do people stare at that, right? It's the frequency that it's resonating, and it
Mhm.
affects you even though you're 100 meters away. You see that and you go, wow.
Yes, yes, yes. You're so right. And I never even thought about it until you just mentioned it. But, when I see, like, if I'm watching a show and I see a part that is, showing real love and care, it may make me cry
Yeah.
because I'm feeling, I'm putting myself in those people's shoes in that moment.
Yeah, it affects you. The frequency can affect you from far away. And those feelings that you have, I mean, what are those? What are we? We are electrochemical beings. I mean, I think what are we, 70% water or something like that? So how do our muscles move? How do we think? That's all electrical impulses moving through our body, which is why we need electrolytes. You need metals in your body. Why? Because you're conducting electricity. If you don't have magnesium and those sort of things, you're not going to have good connectivity in your body and your energy and your frequency. So it keeps tying back to real science. Because when you think about talking about vibes, people go, oh, I'm not into yoga and I'm not, I'm a logical person, right? And I would say those people are low frequency people.
Mhm.
No offense.
Yes, and even in what I do, different people that I interview give me different feelings.
Yep.
Vibrations are different. Some vibrations are, like you said, low, and then other vibrations are high, which makes the interview go super well because I'm high energy, they're high energy. So we are feeding off each other's energy.
Yeah. And I think the listeners are affected by the energy of the conversation.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So the book, is it out or when is it coming out?
You know, it's funny. The AI is so good. They say AI can do anything. AI doesn't write books. AI does not write books. You have to write yourself. And AI, you can ask it a question, it'll give you an answer, give you some paragraphs, stuff like that. But my ideas on it, I've been sitting in my head for a long time, and I'm almost done. But you can never stop redoing it. But again, I'm gonna have to take my own advice and just get it out. So it's coming soon. And it really speaks to what I've learned, the most important thing I've learned about life. That is, vibes are real. That,
Yes.
alignment of energy is crucial to an investment thesis. You've got to move fast. Um, and you know what? When you connect with people, it really makes a difference. And, I have a lot of great relationships with people that have lasted a long, long time. And you know what? Even Care Bears, in Care Bears, same thing. Like, why is it that after 40 years, people love that so much? It's because I think people make most of their decisions based on how they feel. And I think Care Bears makes people feel
Yes.
good. So,
Yes, I have to agree, and in business, what is that saying? People do business with people they care about. People want to do business with you if they feel like you care about them.
yeah,
If you take their interest, or if you're taking their interest at heart,
yeah,
and it makes a difference, down even when mistakes happen, it's like it's how you respond to that mistake that makes the world a difference
yeah.
in business.
So true. I mean, your perspective and how you react to it. That's why, like, humility, I think, and the most important thing of all is just being appreciative of what you have. That
Yes.
truly is wealth, right? Because like even the
Yes.
richest person on earth still has a wish, you know? Every single person on this planet has a wish, and every single person has problems, no matter what. And so like, yeah, for sure, what you do with that is the key, right?
Yes, gratitude is so important. And, I make it a point daily to count my blessings and be grateful because I realize that complaining doesn't solve anything. Not only that, it's negative and it blocks your blessings.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I I think about, oh, that's right. So someone said it this way. They go, you should be incredibly forgiving to yourself. Oh, like if you're oh, they used another word, but overwhelmingly forgiving to yourself. And why is that important? Because your inner voice is criticizing yourself all the time, which slows you down. That's a low frequency thinking process, right? Because you think, what are you thinking about? All the mistakes you made, or the mistakes the embarrassment, or this and that. So you're always critiquing and slowing down. And this is definitely why you need to be incredibly forgiving to yourself, because I think it's helpful for that high frequency, go for it. And even motivation, I mean, you got to feel energized. How do you do that? Well, if you sit there and worry about things and criticize yourself, you're going to end up with a low frequency result.
Yes.
Slow.
Yes. My motto is don't be a victim, be a victor.
Yeah.
Because you can get stuck in that pity party and you can't move.
Yeah.
You don't think right when you're in the pity mode.
Yeah.
When you when
Yeah.
when you're in the victor mode, you're thinking solutions. You're thinking, okay, this happened. What can I do going forward? You coming up with solutions, how to's, things like that, which gives you. And I notice for me, it gives me energy
Yeah.
when I'm
Yeah.
in that space.
Yeah. And entrepreneurs need this more than corporate LLC information, because you do have to feel excited about it. I think what's great about being an entrepreneur is that there's less bureaucracy, because when you work with a big organization, you're often dealing with that kind of low frequency thing, right? Where
Yes.
you have to fit in line. When you started your own businesses, why did you do it? It's so that you can have the freedom, to go for it and do the best that you can do. So,
Yes, absolutely. And it's like on your terms,
hmm.
so to speak. Like when you bring your team in, it's like, okay, you've already been through the low energy folks and you realize it doesn't work. So you definitely will not bring that into your space with your team.
You know what? And this, I'm actually learning beekeeping right now.
Oh,
And it is the most fascinating thing of all, because organizations just like a beehive, and the bees all resonate at a frequency and they communicate in a frequency. The
yes.
other thing is that bees, when they approach a flower, this is science, a flower that has been pollinated emits a frequency that the bee can pick up and knows that it's been pollinated already, and it just moves on. I
Yes.
guess it's just the fact is that this kind of resonant frequency metaphor, it's real in business, it's real in life. And maybe the idea of love, caring, and sharing, and being forgiving to yourself, maybe these things really do matter, and they're not just hokey pokey ideas of some overly optimistic person.
Yes. And I mean, and we all know how that feels when you
Yeah.
start to pay attention to how you show up and really pay attention to it. You realize that when you're in a bad mood, let's just say, you don't want to do anything. You sluggish. You don't want to talk. You don't want to interact. You don't want to do anything. And then once you flip that switch and say, you know what it is, immediately your vibration starts to rise just because you just told yourself that. And one of the things that I noticed is thoughts come in pairs. It's negative and positive.
Yeah.
You come up with a thought. It's like, oh wow, this sounds great. And immediately following that, it's something wrong with it. It's something wrong with it. And that, being in the coaching space, that self-talk and that kind of thing is important because how you talk to yourself
Yeah,
is determines what you're going to do.
yeah. And this kind of what we're talking about, this relates to business in every way. Because
Yes.
what is a business if not a beehive? It's the same. And if the vibe of the company is disjointed and bureaucratic and met up with these dense objects that slow the frequency down, the effects are obvious. And so literally what we're talking about is business because, beekeepers, I'll tell you, this is interesting. A weak bee colony sounds different than a healthy, strong um, colony. And that's why having what they call wild bees is better than domestic bees. You can buy a bee colony. And that's when you start beekeeping, you got to buy it. But it may or may not be in good quality. There can be all kinds of issues with these domestic bees, and that's why a lot of beehives are dying off. It's difficult to do, and we need bees to pollinate things to keep the, food, fruit, all that kind of thing. So it's an important topic, but the point I'm trying to make is that, wild bees are resilient. They endure, they work hard, they send scouts out to find new places they, create a new queen. If the queen is producing bad unproductive bees, they kill her and make another one.
Yes.
It's like firing the CEO of a company, right? Um, Lululemon's a great example where the CEO of Lululemon got fired last year. He doubled Lululemon during his tenure. So why did they fire him? The company's enterprise value went down by 50% during the time that he doubled the company. Why would the company grow and go and lose stock value? Because the frequency was off. Lululemon lost its authenticity. People, why
Mhm.
did it go? Because it wasn't authentic anymore. Women in yoga, they're wearing Alo and other brands because they want to be unique. Lululemon's quality went down. Why did their quality? Why would you manufacture a poor quality in such a high margin quality business? Mistakes, right? That's
Mhm.
all low frequency stuff, bureaucratic, low frequency, and they've got to rebuild.
Yes, 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 indeed. So, what can you offer to consumer brands that are looking for the right partner to take them to the next level?
Well, this is the thing that we're talking about. What is consumer brands, if not how people feel about that brand?
Hmm.
And this is where private equity gets it wrong. And this is why it's so important to find the right private equity investor partner. And that's why I'm on this show, because I want people to know who I am and I want them to understand this one single point. Most private equity investors, finance guys, they have a very specific psychology. And it is, I would say, a low frequency psychology because of what you said in the beginning. It's for them, it's all about risk management. So when you say, I want to spend money on marketing and do consumer engagement and I want to take risks and I want to be authentic, they see that as a risk. That's not a good thing. So they want to slow you down. That's why a lot of times private equity that's invested in consumer hasn't done that well because the private equity group has that low frequency approach. What I would say is that consumer brands is all about how people feel about it. And in the case of Lululemon, they feel like the quality went down and the authenticity is lost. So, the brand has lost a lot of its value. Um, Other brands that are like high resonance, like there's a company called Gruens that just got sold to Unilever for 1 point something billion dollars. It's a gummy company. It's been around for 3 years. Why did that company come out of nowhere and all of a sudden sell for $1 billion? Because it really connected authentically with consumers with the idea of creatine and glutamine and good healthy vitamins in your gummies. And they made it cool and authentic and they made it national and they got up to 300 million revenue by connecting with people, resonating at a frequency with people on social media. And that's what Unilever bought. They bought that authentic relationship between Grun's Gummy Company and the public. So my advice is be careful who you partner with. Partner with high frequency people that understand emotional connection because consumer brand is all about emotional connection, as is your show. I would tell you that your listeners, they connect with you, they like your frequency, and you know what? And that is your show's on a frequency. And that's the other thing. The signal. What signal are you listening to? What channel are you listening to?
Absolutely, Sam. Wow. This is very different than what I thought that we were going to talk about, but I am definitely embracing it, all of it. So, how do companies connect with you?
Well, my email, Sam at IVEST Consumer Partners, our website, IVEST, or on LinkedIn. I'm pretty easy to find if you Google me, Sam Bremner. And, you know, my email, Sam at IVEST Consumer. That's really the best route. And look at, even if you're not ready to do an investment now, I think that it's good to just chit chat. I'd be happy to help anybody who's thinking about maybe bringing in a growth investment partner. Um, and you know what? I like connecting with people because I like helping people, and that's authentically who I am. It doesn't have to be just because I'm going to do a deal with you. A lot of times, at iVest, uh, we've had relationships. We've pursued them for 5, 6 years before we did a deal.
Mm,
So I love high frequency conversations. I love helping people do the best they can and live the best life they can, and it really feeds my soul.
absolutely. And I can feel all of that energy.
You can. I
Yes,
feel it.
I
You
can
can.
definitely feel it and that's where we should be in business. It should be about making someone else's life better.
Yeah, I just heard that it's if you want to be successful in business, you need to solve a problem that people already know that they have. That's what you need to do. And when you're marketing a business online, for instance, go out and offer it to people and get their feedback and see before you go and invest heavily in inventory.
Hmm.
A lot of people, you don't need to create the business. You need to make sure that the demand exists and then fulfill that. And that's what I've always done. Always, what do you call it? Low capital expenditure, validate demand, and then meet that demand. And so with Grün's vitamins, for instance, people didn't like protein powders. They didn't like creatine powders as much as it just felt more natural to sort of snack on gummies all day and get all my nutrients. And so they answered the problem was that people don't like powders as
Hmm.
much,
Right.
right? So that's why they're so successful. Because if you asked me gummies, I'd say, I don't think so, right? There's lots of gummies out there. Why would I? But they nailed it. And that kind of consumer research is crucial. You gotta, and with social media, you can find out whether people want
Oh
something.
yeah, social media will definitely let you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Too much information too, right?
Yes, indeed. Wow. So how do you identify which nostalgic brands are worth reviving versus ones that should stay in the past? How do you make that
That's
determination?
That's a great one. And so I refer to it like this. Some brands out there, they own real estate in people's psyche. And why I use the word psyche is that according to psychology, that's where your hurt and your love and your feelings are. And your psyche has no idea what time it is. So if you've been hurt by something that happened a long time ago, it's as though it happened today. That's how your psyche. So a lot of human behavior is based on their psyche and well, sorry, I'm going off on this thing. So the point is that consumer brands have real estate there. So when you connected and felt good with Care Bears 40 years ago, those feelings are just as strong today. Um, but there's some nostalgic brands that maybe you can't sell a lot of product with, right? Care Bears, love caring and sharing. You could sell anything, maybe not weapons, maybe not cigarettes, but anything is better with love, caring, and sharing. There's some brands that it's a lesser, but look at Pan Am. Pan Am was an airline a long time ago. The airline doesn't even exist. Somebody bought the nostalgic brand and then started creating Pan Am product with it. And guess what? It's a huge royalties business. And that's the kind of thing that we focus mostly on is how to create royalties revenue because royalties trade at a higher valuation than traditional, say, product marketing. Um, so another example is Peanuts, Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown is a boy, a dog, and a bird And Sony just bought the rest of what they didn't own of it at a valuation of $1.3 billion. So that bird, that dog, and that boy are worth $1 billion. Why? Because it's people are purchasing products and resonating with those feelings. So I'm just interested in anybody who's got a brand, an IP that has been around a long time, touched millions and millions of people, that made them feel good. That's what I invest in. Why? Because I know the retailers, I know 3,500 manufacturers who can make product. And what I do is I take that brand, that IP, and I take it to the manufacturers and say, you make socks, you make hats, you make belts, you make shoes, and I take that to Walmart and I say, hey, this is the great product that we've created. Would you like to carry it and sell it? I also take it to Temu, Amazon, and get a lot of feedback on how people feel about the products. And you just have to make unique, high quality products where people can resonate with what I like. It's a adult thing, right? People, just because you're older, you still have those exact same feelings from when you were
Mhm.
younger. And so that's the formula, and it really works.
And I can believe that because during the holidays, I still like watching Charlie Brown, the
Yeah.
Christmas.
Yeah, the Christmas story.
Yeah.
Home Alone. Home Alone. I mean, I must
Oh,
have 5 times, right?
yes,
So
yes.
good.
It's certain things that's a tradition. Even though I'm adult and I started watching it as a kid, it's like I still get that feeling every time I watch it.
Yeah.
Wow. So, Sam, this has been interesting. You've dropped some really, really amazing nuggets on us today. And I'm definitely going to be thinking about that high frequency leadership and, what it means. I mean, even though you explained it very well, uh, but I couldn't have explained it until I met you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Look, I just think that you got to ask yourself, how quickly am I making decisions? How clearly do I understand my priorities? And, is my organization energized or is it heavy? And when you meet that density, don't try and go through it, go around it, like you said. There's just no point in trying to convince people. You've just got to keep moving. And you'll find that when you connect with that right frequency, that's you just got to drive a truck down that road. And that's my theme. It's working for me. I love sharing it with you.
Absolutely. So, again, how do companies connect?
Sam at IVEST, IVEST consumer.com. Email me, look at me at social media on LinkedIn, and reach out, drop an email, and just introduce yourself. Happy to do a Zoom call and see if I can be helpful.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so, so much for sharing today. You made my day. My energy is definitely up there right now.
Well, Ida, you know what? I could tell right away. I know that you operate on a high frequency. That's why you have this show. That's why you're successful. And you inspire people with your energy. I know it. You're a loving, caring,
Thank you.
thoughtful person.
And that I am. I love people. I love conversations. And I love learning from
Yeah.
people because every encounter, when I do this podcast, I take something away that I can use.
Yeah.
Every single one. And I appreciate that. And I'm just grateful that God put me in this space because this is something that I didn't choose to do. It just happened.
Well, and you know what? I got to tell you, I think a lot of people really connect and resonate with you, right? Because I think you represent the way a lot of people think and feel. And so listening to you makes them feel good. And I think that's why you're successful. So and just it fits with my whole theme. And I think that and it's not just based on hokey pokey, it's science.
Wow. Well, I appreciate that, Sam. That really makes me shine inside. Thank you.
Well,
Well, I appreciate you taking time out today, and we're definitely going to have to do this again. I enjoyed every minute of it. And audience, we appreciate you as well, and see you next time.